Stephanie. Ready? Glad you guys are here with us as we get things going, diving in to the Milwaukee Bucks, which leads us to the perfect two analysts to break down this team. Remember last season, Bucks #1 defensive rating? Well, we have Hall of Famer Kevin McHale, 6-time All-NBA defensive player. They also shot a lot of threes. Well,
leave it.
That's right. Dennis Scott, 10-year vet, three-point shooter extraordinaire. Glad you guys are here with us today.
Good to be here.
We're going to dive into the Milwaukee Bucks and find out what we have in store, or what they have in store for us. Betting by the numbers, let's see the odds to win the East, guys. Bucks leading the way, Kevin.
I'm moving Sixers over one in front of the Bucks. I think they got a little bit. I like the big guy, Joel Embiid, can control the game. And I'm moving the Pacers up a little bit, probably in front of the Celtics and the Nets, because I think Oladipo comes back, and they got some continuity. A lot of these teams are starting new with new players, and so I changed a little bit.
Now, I agree with you. Move Indiana up a little bit, but I'm going to leave the Bucks right where they are because I like adding Korver, adding Wesley Matthews. I think they lost a little bit, but brought in enough to keep them afloat.
Okay.
Well, we're going to find out exactly what the Bucks think of themselves. Media Day, they spoke to media counterparts. Let's talk to Coach Bud.
How do you find ways to get better? I mean, are they evident? Do you have to invent them? Are the things sort of left on the table from last spring?
No, I mean, I think it's important that you don't invent them. That, you know, I think players, they always know when you're making something that's not there. And but I think every team, you know, even somebody that wins a championship, I'm sure there's areas where they feel like they can improve, and we're not any different. We feel like we can get better defensively. Feel like we can get better offensively. You know, individually, I think there's some guys that, you know, have growth opportunities. And so if all the players are getting better individually, collectively, we're going to get better. And, you know, guys will make more plays. And, you know, hopefully we'll see that play out this year.
It's always about getting better, never being satisfied. So, I mean, I'm sure Bud will have a lot of motivations for us to get better in certain different types of areas. Since we didn't win a championship, I mean, even those teams have to find ways to get better. So, we didn't win a championship last year, so I think we still have a lot to work on, which I think we can accomplish.
We're trying to get better each day. We're trying to compete at practice and create a habit that can carry over to the game. We know teams gonna come try to you know, win games against us, but we got to be ready. We got to do what we did last year: defend together, move the ball offensively together, do whatever we do together. And if we keep doing that, we're gonna be fine. And
Well, it sounds simple enough, right? If they just keep doing that, they'll be fine. What do you all think the odds are that they can win the East?
They're going to be right up there. I think I said, I think Philly has got a great chance of winning the East, but Milwaukee is such a good team. Antetokounmpo is such a unique player. His ability to break people down and do things. My big concern is if you can contain Antetokounmpo. I thought Toronto did a great job in the playoffs last year. They bottled it up. They took the ball out of his hands. And what's plan B for Milwaukee if Antetokounmpo is not breaking down the defense, Dennis?
No, that's a great point. That's one of the things that we know each year the players are going to get better. Well, Coach Bud has to get better, too.
Yeah.
We saw the same thing when he was here in Atlanta. We saw last year in the playoffs. You have to make some adjustments as you go deeper into the playoffs. You got to Toronto. They made those adjustments. You're talking about K-Mac. They shut down the lane. Chris Middleton could get going. They couldn't get their three-point shooting on, as we talked about at the beginning of the show, Steph. Those are the things I think Coach Bud needs to tweak as well as you bring in a guy like Korver who can shoot the basketball. But if the lane is shrunk up and you're not making adjustments, how do you get back to your 3 and D?
In a 5-out set, all you're trying to do is get the ball in the paint.
Right.
And then it's a fire out. They couldn't get the ball in the paint. Toronto switched. Now you got to put Brook Lopez down the paint and then throw it to him on the switch and collapse the defense. So there's different ways to collapse the defense. I was really surprised last year when Milwaukee really didn't make any adjustments in that series. And, you know, good on Nick Nurse and the Toronto Raptors. They found something that worked. And I always said, your offense is great until somebody stops it.
Right.
Then you have to have plan B.
Right.
Because when plan A is rolling, it's all cool. And so, you know, Milwaukee's going to have to expand a little bit and find a plan B when Antetokounmpo is not in the paint all the time.
Now, is there more pressure? Because the expectations are higher. Everyone expects this team to have great success. The path could be clearer now. Kawhi Leonard has now left the Eastern Conference. What are your expectations?
Well, I think the expectations are still high, and I think listen to Giannis. Like the year before, he said he wanted to be MVP. Now he's talking about I want to get to the finals. So we know this young man is going to put in the work and do the things that's necessary to be in that situation. The question is, how do you get these new faces you just brought in last year? All right,
they need that next. Right. They need two more guys besides Antetokounmpo that can put the ball on the floor and find people and make your teammates better. A lot of those guys are finishers. Korver, catch and shoot. You know, and you could have another playmaker. So again, I really like this team. I like what they're doing, but there's some questions. Can they win a championship the way they're put together right now without some adjustments in how they play?
Well, we'll talk about Malcolm Brogdon later on in this show. But for now, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into Giannis Antetokounmpo. For the first time since 2013, Sports Illustrated ranked someone other than LeBron James as their #1 player in the NBA. That person is Giannis Antetokounmpo. Is there room for improvement for the reigning MVP? Let's hear directly from him.
A lot of people might not think that I got room to improve. I think I always think that I can improve. And that's one thing that I've been doing since the first day I stepped in this league, and I want to keep doing it. There's going to be days there's going to be a time that I'm not going to improve anymore, but as long as I keep working hard and keep believing in myself, I think I'm going to keep getting better. I can tell you right off the top of my head 5 things I can do better. I can shoot more threes.
Give us 1 or 2.
More catch and shoot, shoot threes, so I can help my teammate space the floor better. I can be able to make more. I can improve my handles, make my handles more tight. Like there's a lot of things that I can improve.
He's going to make his
handles
more tight. Yeah.
I love it. And shout out to Jason Kidd, right, for giving him just the idea that he could run a team with his handles. Okay, so the contract situation is out there kind of. The team panicked a little bit.
Exactly. It's not, Giannis is doing all the right things, playing hard, putting in the work. I think the team put themselves out there and got in a little trouble. So with that being said, Giannis is going to put in the work. I question Eric Bledsoe a little bit because he's the point guard in the backcourt with him, so to speak, even though we know Chris Middleton is the 2. How did he and Eric work well together, Coach, where when he's attacking, is Eric Bledsoe ready to knock down shots? So now those 5.9 assists go up to 7.9. Now he's making the team better because, like we said earlier, if they're shrinking up the lane, who is knocking down shots to open up that lane so Giannis can improve his dribbling and attacking the rim?
Bledsoe's got to be one of those players who's very versatile for this team. You know, that's one thing. You make your first 2 threes, you're rolling.
Right.
What are you going to do when you miss your first 2 threes? Bledsoe's got the ability to put the ball on the floor and be that playmaker I was talking about. So he's just got to read himself, and he's got to be really aware of how he's playing. And, when you have the ability to drive and kick and play for others, to go 0 for 9 from the three-point line, you don't do that. Now, if you're a three-point shooter, I understand. Korver go 0 for 9.
Keep
9
shooting.
Shot, exactly.
Keep shooting.
But, so Bledsoe's going to have to be a big part of Antetokounmpo and getting back to his development. Antetokounmpo he wants some more catch and shoot threes, he said. Well, who the hell's going to drive and throw to him?
There you go.
His man's not leaving, I promise you right now. I promise you, Antetokounmpo, I'm staying here like this.
Exactly.
I'm like, y'all guard your own man.
Exactly.
And so all the stuff he wants to do to improve, he can improve, and he's a great kid.
Yes.
He's got a great personality. I really like him. He needs other people on his team to improve their game, too. And maybe a couple schemes in there that just isn't the 5-out pick and roll. Get some more action, get some more movement. Our league's kind of become a stationary, corners filled, slot filled, top filled.
Right.
When there's not a lot of movement and passing, and that's why I think when Golden State was really rolling and that ball when bodies were moving, really hard to guard.
Well, Giannis Antetokounmpo, of course, will lead the way. He shot 58% from the field. We talked about room for improvement, maybe from behind the arc. But one place where we know he excels is in the paint. We'll have a lot more on Giannis Antetokounmpo and the rest of the Bucks. Giannis Antetokounmpo says it's just the beginning. Here's a look at the Milwaukee Bucks' projected depth chart. Wes Matthews is a nice little addition. Of course, remember, the absence of Malcolm Brogdon will be a huge cavity for them to fill. And in fact, we're going to listen into what the Bucks think the challenges will be in replacing Malcolm Brogdon.
I think we're going to be fine. You know, it's always tough to lose a guy like Malcolm, a very good teammate and a very focal point in this organization. But, you know, you're getting another leader in Wesley Matthews, another veteran guard. You're adding Kyle Korver, who's another veteran presence in there who had success in the postseason. You have Dante that's back from injury this year that's looking pretty good so far. So you got Sterling Brown, who showed us a glimpse of excitement last year. And I think we're going to be fine. You know, it's going to take a collective group for us to pull together and pull, you know, the things that Malcolm brought to us. But I think we'll be fine, and we'll do that all together.
Really excited about, you know, the new players that we've been able to add, and, you know, Robin Lopez, Wes Matthews, Kyle Korver, you know, particularly those three guys, but Dragon Bender.
Sure.
You know, but with the continuity that we have with everybody returning, a lot of respect for Malcolm and what he was able to do for us last year. But, you know, particularly the three older guys, Robin, Wes, and Kyle, we feel like they're all guys that, you know, have played at a high level, that can really help us on both ends of the court, fit kind of our style of play, fit our culture. So we're really, really excited about those guys.
All right, so big shoes to fill. I mean, Malcolm Brogdon was one of those players that goes under the radar if you're not an avid NBA fan. But if you're a follower, you understand the importance of his smartness and his consistency. How do they fill that gap?
They don't have one player that can fill that gap. But, you know, Matthews has got to do his thing, 3-and-D, make some shots. George Hill's going to have to take some of that off the dribble to try to help what Brogdon was able to by break down defenses. But he just, I'm with you. Let me tell you something. He was one of those guys, like you talk about under the radar guy. I watched him play, and he made so many winning plays and so many smart plays. I don't even care if it's just a reversal of the ball. When he got it, just fired it to the weak side. He understood the game, and his IQ is going to be hard to replace. They do have high IQ guys coming in. I think that's a big loss for the Bucks.
I agree with you. Draft night, I was shocked that he slipped, you know, to the second round the way he did, and it's the understanding that what he did at Virginia, you knew would translate, you didn't know how. So when Milwaukee's realizing now this is a young man that brought it every day. You got high maintenance guys and low maintenance guys. And talking to Bud, he was no maintenance. So losing a guy like that, and you bring in a guy like Wesley Matthews, which is going to be solid as a veteran, but you're going to miss those late game situations where you always made great decisions.
And in case you forgot, he was also a 50-40-90 guy.
That's
Remember,
right.
that is hard to
It's
achieve
hard to do.
over the length of a season.
That's right.
Now, Wes Matthews has the potential to help fill that void. He's a career 38% shooter from behind the arc. Is he the answer?
He's going to have to be, because right now he's going to play a lot of minutes, and he's going to have to make shots. But he does fit into their culture, because he really is a 3-and-D guy. You know, he's going to make shots. He's going to defend. He's really not, you know, he loves to compete. He loves taking on the other team's top offensive guy and put the defense on him. And he's got a little edge to him. And if there's anything I could tell you that I thought Milwaukee needed, is an edge. They need some edgy guys, man. At times, you need some guys to go out there and ruffle some feathers. You need some guys to, you know, push some things up. Exactly, and he'll do that for him. So he's going to bring himself to that team, and that's all he needs to do. Just be the good Wes Matthews that you've been your whole career.
K-Mac, I agree with you 1,000%. Be who you are. They brought you in for a certain reason. They know you have a certain skill set that meshes what they do now. Just do what you do.
All right, well, we still have a ton to talk about because the Bucks have made some changes, obviously, with the additions. Brook Lopez is somebody who changed his game, if you will, as he's evolved. And his brother Robin has now joined him. We'll dive more into the family affair in Milwaukee.
Ooh, a lot of interesting things with the Lopez brothers.
Some social from the summer. Giannis's older brother, Thanasis Antetokounmpo, signed a 2-year deal with the Milwaukee Bucks, guys.
See, Milwaukee, that's how you do it. You don't have to say anything. You sign the older brother, that's not tampering.
And you don't get fined $50,000 for signing the older brother.
See?
Plus, you get that view of Athens, which is absolutely spectacular.
Absolutely gorgeous. I'll trade that in a second. But they're not the only set of brothers. In fact, there are 2 sets of brothers on the Milwaukee Bucks roster. The Lopez brothers are reunited, haven't played together since their days at Stanford. Let's listen to what Brooks says.
I think it's special because Giannis is always stressed kind of like a family atmosphere with the Bucks, and he's always talked about how important family is to him, you know, in general. So I think, you know, it kind of, I mean, it literally shows how important family is to Milwaukee Bucks, kind of being in the situation.
So you got blood brothers and sort of stepbrothers.
Exactly.
Now, if the Antetokounmpos went 2-on-2 against the Lopezes, what would we see?
Yeah, Robin's such a dirty player. He might take one of them out almost immediately. I can't lie.
Hopefully, not the wrong one.
Right.
Love it.
You
Love it.
have to love it. Hey there, I'm Stephanie, joined by Kevin McHale and Dennis Scott. This looks like it could be a lot of fun for whoever happens to be on the team bus with two sets of brothers.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun, Steph. And we know when you have Brooke, he's going to shoot a lot of threes. Robin's going to be down in the paint, so they complement one another because they're so different. The Nass has been kind of working his way to get on the team. But more importantly, Milwaukee, you got this right. You didn't have to go out and say anything. You brought family to family, coach.
Yep.
Now they're going to believe in one another. Now you have to talk about a year from now. It's going to take care of itself.
Yeah, you know, and you look at Brooke and Robin Lopez. Robin's a much better defender. He can get out and get in space and do some things defensively that'll help him. Brooke doesn't do that well, but
Right.
Brooke shoots the ball well, which gives them that 5-out offense. So that's a nice fit. And bringing in Antetokounmpo's brother, that's just a smart play, like you said. You know, you don't do anything. It doesn't cost you a ton of money. Keep them really happy.
Yeah.
And putting those two Lopez brothers together, be some interesting conversations.
A lot of cartoons.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of cartoons, right.
Do you think it'll help with the team chemistry?
Yeah, because you're so comfortable. I just think that you get on the bus. There's just a vibe you have with guys you've known your whole life. Of course, they're brothers. Yeah, I do. I just think it's and they can be really honest with each other. I'm sure Giannis, his older brother, can tell him some stuff that no one else on the team can tell him.
Good
No,
point.
that's a great point. And when you have brothers on the team who really care, and with both sets of brothers, they're going to be on time, they're hard workers, and they're going to keep each other accountable. To your point, K-Mac, I think it's a smart move all the way around by Milwaukee.
Cannot wait to see how this all ends up. Giannis Antetokounmpo, of course, looking to try to repeat as the MVP of the NBA. Last season, terrific numbers for the young man. 28 points, 12 and a half boards, 6 assists. Is he the best player? Kawhi versus Giannis. This is a side-by-side comparison of their league rankings. Both are considered the best player in the league, depending on who you ask. Well, I asked you, Kevin McHale and Dennis Scott.
Well, right now, today, I'm going to lead towards Giannis because we know last year the load management thing was an issue, or should I say a situation for Kawhi, and it worked. This ball is going to be in Giannis' hands again all season long. If the Wesley Matthews of the world, Brooke Lopez of the world, if they can knock down threes consistently, I think Giannis could be MVP again.
I've seen Kawhi defer for an entire game during the regular season. Giannis cannot defer. He's got to run that offense through him. I think Kawhi looks at the regular season as a warm-up for the playoffs and stuff. I think he's way past thinking, I'm going to try to work for the MVP. Whereas Giannis, they need him to play well every single night to be effective. But hey, man, don't sleep on Kawhi Leonard. What he did last spring was amazing. That guy can really play.
Unbelievable.
And if he put his mind to it and said, I want to be MVP of the league, he definitely could do it.
And what he showed us, Steph, down the stretch, that his offense has really caught up with his defense. So there's no, he's more of a defensive guy, the offense. No. Late game situations, you can still put the ball in his hands. He makes good things happen.
Yep.
So you bring up regular season, you bring up playoffs, maybe one for each in terms of which one's better. Can Giannis perform as an MVP in the playoffs this year?
Well, he's going to have to adjust a few things in his game. Look at Toronto last year said, okay, this is the formula in a playoff series to stop Milwaukee. Switch, get the ball out of their hands, have enough athletes out there that when you switch on Antetokounmpo, you can stay in front of them, keep them out of the paint, pack the rest of the paint. And if they keep 5 guys on the perimeter and don't get someone in the paint to collapse it, Antetokounmpo is going to have a tough time in the playoffs when teams make those adjustments against them. Conversely, Kawhi, he made all the adjustments against defense. He would take whoever's guarding him. He would go to his spot, rise up, go in the post. He just played differently when different players were guarding him.
Steph, I've been saying it all summer long, and y'all know how much I love the three-point shot. Giannis, find you somewhere in this, I don't care if it's that elbow, this elbow, top of the key.
Yeah.
You don't have to shoot threes, but you have to find a spot on the floor that you can get to, rise up, leave it, knock it down. Now we can say you have a jump shot. Do not come into this NBA next year and say you got to shoot all these threes.
Right.
Now you're hurting your team.
That's part of his growth and development, part of the journey if he can repeat as an MVP. Let's take a look at the Bucks season. Some highlights for you guys to circle on your calendars. Opening night for the Bucks, notable games. That's at Houston with the Rockets on TNT. And you can see some big games early in the season, all of these before Christmas. And that Christmas Day game.
That's a good one.
Philly.
Ooh.
I'll be opening up my presents and watching the Sixers and the Bucks play. No one gives me presents, by the way.
No more presents when you get older? I agree with that.
I just give presents. That's all.
Christmas Day, I think you'll see two teams trying to fight for either 1, 2, or 3 at the worst.
Yep.
But more importantly, is Embiid putting his imprint on trying to be MVP, or is Giannis putting his imprint on it?
Man, this is going to be so good. All right, last question for you guys as it relates to the Bucks.
Okay.
More or less wins for Milwaukee? We're talking about 57.5 is the number. Over or under? What you got?
I'm going to say over.
Me too. I'm going to say over. They won 60 last year. Boom. Over.
Yeah, I think defensively, they're still going to be solid. Been talking about the offense all show long. I think those guys like Wesley Matthews will figure out, start making some shots. They'll be at the top of the heap.
And the East is overall.
Clear path.
It's still kind of wide open.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, it will be interesting to see how all the new pieces fit into the Milwaukee Bucks puzzle. We've mentioned several of them. They need shooters to kind of balance out with Giannis Antetokounmpo. They picked up a few in Wes Matthews and Kyle Korver. We will see how it all unfolds. We thank you for joining us. For Dennis Scott and Kevin McHale, I'm Stephanie Reddy. We'll see you next time.